Mark, if you can bring my slideshow back up, and then you can probably unspotlight, and then I'm going to ask Dan Schillinger to come up. And what we're going to do from now on, we're going to just talk a little bit about a call to action. And we're fairly quickly going to have a election of directors. So I'll be calling our nominating committee up. So Mark, if you can, let's see if you can do.
Yeah, I'm having an issue here.
Okay.
On spot.
You can't get unspotted. Okay, well, let's bring Dan up and we can start talking about some of the things he is working on very briefly, and actually some actions you can take. So Dan Schillinger is on our board. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
You. Yeah. Dan Schillinger, retired television journalist for 44 years. I haven't been retired for 44 years. I did it for 44 years. I've only been retired for 3. And I've been working with the Rail Coalition for the last couple of years, and they foolishly handed me the keys to their website and their social media platforms, which I've managed to mess up, but I'm working on it all the time. We believe, and I think Joe made a great point, we believe that now is the time to start building public support beyond the people in this room. Who obviously already support what we do. We believe now is the time to start building public support so that when the time comes that we need to seek funding from our state or federal legislators, that they know that the population wants this. So how do we do that? I'm a firm believer that the best and most economical way to reach the widest possible audience is on social media. And I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years, and Scott's very active too on Twitter, I know, updating and posting hopefully compelling articles and pictures and videos on our Facebook and Twitter pages. And then the magic of things turning viral on social media, for those who don't know, is if you comment on one of those posts, I know you're all on Facebook. I know Jackie is. If you comment on those posts and if you share them to your page, suddenly our audience goes beyond the we have about 400 people on our Facebook page right now. So you get that message out beyond those 400 by posting a comment or by sharing it on your page. And then if you ask those people to share it, it's the magic of compound interest, if you will. That's how we reach a wider audience, and especially, as been mentioned a couple of times, a younger audience. That I think is the key to increasing our engagement and building public support for this. The other part of it that Scott talked about is the business coalition. Anybody who has any contacts in the business community, please ask them to sign on to that organization. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't obligate their company to do anything. But what it does is it gives us a list of some of Wisconsin's most powerful and important employers that we can show to politicians and say, look, the Green Bay Packers are on our side. The Milwaukee Bucks are on our side. Coors is on our side. All the universities have signed on to this. So the business coalition and the social media, I think, is just key to expanding our reach. And we really need everybody's help to do this. And again, all you have to do is make sure you follow West Central Wisconsin Rail Coalition on Facebook and Twitter. Oh, and by the way, as of this morning, we're also on TikTok and Instagram. So follow us on those channels, those of you who do this sort of thing. And when you see an article that Scott's posted or that I've posted, share it to your page, ask your followers to share it. And that's how we build momentum for this thing and build public support. Oh, and one other request, I asked this last year too. Those of you who travel by train, I'm in the process of rebuilding our website, and I really need compelling pictures and videos of people on the train enjoying the train. I pull a lot of stuff from Amtrak. I hope that's okay, Derek. Yeah. But what I really would love to show people is, because I think a lot of people who have never ridden on a train don't understand how different it is from flying on an airplane, that you can get up and walk around and you can walk back to coffee car or the bar car or whatever, get a sandwich. You can stop and watch the scenery go by. The seats are bigger and more comfortable. And there's just 100 ways that traveling by train is more enjoyable than traveling on an airplane. It's certainly more enjoyable than sitting behind the wheel of your car, like I do almost every weekend now on I-94. So if you're on the train, please take a minute, just shoot some video, shoot some pictures of people enjoying the train and send them to me and I'll get them on our website.
Thanks, Dan.
You bet.
We appreciate the work of all our volunteers that help make our group work and advance our cause. So speaking of being behind the wheel, I just wanted to give a little motivation here. So right now, if you think about going to the Twin Cities or Milwaukee or Chicago, that's what you think of. And this is what we'd rather be doing, right? Students going, this is actually a picture from the 40s at Menominee. Every day there are students and people at universities taking the train. There's families that take the train. There's people that take the train to go places for tourism and to enjoy themselves. And even if you're not on the train route, part of our vision is to connect places like River Falls, Chippewa Falls, others that aren't right on the route with shuttle connections. So I should have brought this up while Dan was talking, but here's our addresses. If you want to find us, westwisconsinrail.org is our website. And then you can find us by searching on Twitter or Facebook. And then we would encourage you to join you don't have to, but that's pretty economical to become a member. And speaking of which, we're going to move right now into our short business meeting. We promise we'll keep this relatively short. The way the association or the organization is structured, our board of directors manages the group, and we have a membership meeting basically to elect our directors. And that's what we do annually, according to our bylaws, in January. We currently have 9 directors, and what you see here with the years in front of them is the year of the expiration of their current board term. And then the board of directors at our first meeting after the annual meeting elects the officers, which are the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. So I am going to call the meeting to order. And then I'm going to ask, I don't know if it's Jackie or Mark that are going to give our nominating committee report on the election, which is our really one piece of business.
Jackie's gonna come up and.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to introduce our vice chair, Jackie Pavelski, to introduce our business, and they'll just take a few minutes. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, Dan, I'm not on Facebook. But you know something, I talk a lot and I still am involved very much in the community. And I find that there's two little niches as far as aging. The millennials certainly have an interest, but so do the elderly. And I think of my grandsons who live in River Falls. I just had Evan playing a basketball game here at Memorial last Friday night. He's a freshman now. But anyway, I'd be riding that train all the time, to be honest with you. And so I like the idea of having choices. And I myself have rode on the old 400. My grandparents lived in Chicago and would come up to Bloomer, Wisconsin, where I grew up, by rail. Isn't that something? So yeah, I remember 1963 very loudly. So anyway, the nominating committee being Mark and I, very small, but that was good. We are currently have 9 board members, but our bylaws, I wanted to indicate too that you touch base with having the 3 terms expiring, that being Jack and Ann and Dan. And so that first part, we'd be looking at election of our current members. But we currently have 9 board members, but our bylaws allow up to the maximum of 11 board members. Currently, we are looking to expand that board members to 11, given the growth of our organization. One other individual has expressed an interest in serving on the board, Susan Foote Martin, who lives near Columbus, Wisconsin. Susan is very active with passenger rail advocacy and currently serves as Vice President of Public Relations for the Wisconsin Association of Railroad Passengers, WISAR. She also serves on the Board of Directors for All Aboard Wisconsin and is a member of the Wisconsin, our rail group, our coalition. So, and Mark knows Susan personally, so I'll be turning the meeting over to him at this point, but I have one more statement. We would like to advance two motions from the nomination committee. One would be to approve the individual seeking reelection and to have a separate motion to add a 10th board member seat to the our coalition board of directors and elect Susan Foote Martin to fill that seat. So Mark, if you have, you know Susan very well, I understand. Mark represents us on so many committees and we're so glad for his advocacy work. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, basically, we checked with the three candidates and they, would like to seek reelection. I think there'd be a real plus in having Susan Foote Martin on the board. I mean, she works across the board, with other organizations. And I work with Susan. I'm currently on the board of directors for All Aboard Wisconsin and also the Wisconsin Association of Rail Passengers. So Susan really has her foot, in the ground, so to speak, or maybe on the rails for that matter too. But I think at some point, we probably will eventually want to fill that 11th because it's always better to have 11, an odd number. Obviously, we don't have a candidate for that 11th position, but I guess at some point, we would like to fill that 11th position. So
Okay, so
go ahead.
So I'm going to take that. So I think Jackie actually made the motion. So there's two motions on the floor. One is to reelect Jack Halbleib, Ann Shell, and Dave Osnes to new 3-year terms on the board of directors. And I'll take Mark as being the second since they're the nominating committee. So is there any further discussion? And you can vote if you're a paid member and we'll trust you that you are if you vote. So, all right, all those in favor of accepting the motion of Jack, Ann, and Dave to a new 3-year term, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, congratulations. And then the second motion made by Jackie and seconded by Mark is to expand the board to add a 10th position and to nominate Susan Foote Martin to that position. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that actually concludes our business meeting.
Yes.
Unless anybody has any other business for the association, for the organization. And our board of directors meets monthly. If you want to be informed of the board meetings, let us know. Our next meeting will be on February 13th at 7:30 a.m., which is the second Tuesday. So just let us know, send us an email, whatever, if you'd like to listen in on that. And I guess we should formally adjourn the annual meeting. So is there a motion to adjourn the annual meeting? Moved by Ann, seconded by Jim Dunning. That's not debatable or amendable. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have 4 minutes. So does anybody have anything you want to say or have any questions that you wanted to ask? Jackie, can we get you a microphone?
I would like to ask the question about market soundings, which is a word we used earlier in terms of what comes next. And I think it was discussed by both Dan and Kevin, in their words of consultations and also in terms of, group discussions, I think was the word that Kevin used. But I think it's important as we look at expanding this information that was provided today and just what you said, actually, Dan, recognizing the value of social media because visibility of this issue is greatly important. And I know you did a TV interview too, Scott, which is great. But all of us have a role to play in this. And when I think about going back, looking at the organizational structure, looking at various committees that will be needed and all of that sort of thing. I wonder if you have a handle on what we're looking at or the timeline of that mainly.
I'll make a couple comments and
Thank you.
part of it is, if we given you a full report of everything we did during the year, we wouldn't be near adjournment. So the process that Jackie's referring to is that as part of particularly the Chippewa St. Croix Rail Commission working with the trade association for the contract carriers and also with Union Pacific, we held something called a market sounding meeting where we looked at all those issues as we developed our initial proposal. So there'll be more of that kind of thing. There will be some legislative needs at some point, probably in the 25 state budget, which we're early to be talking about. So there'll be things to be looking at there too in context to make. So there will be a number of things that come out that will need to be dealt with as we go forward. So those are great points, Jackie. And if you're a member of the organization, first of all, Dan and Sarah Larson, who are working on communications, would love the kind of help that he asked for today, but there'll be other things too if you have a particular area that you feel you have some interest in and some experience. So, Jim.
When do we start working with our local legislators, et cetera? We have not really done much of at least I'm not aware of much of a direct contact with them. We've kind of held off until we were able to receive the grant. And now when do we start working with them and how do we start doing this?
So I actually have that in my day job to be introducing that to them as I have contact with them over the next few months. And probably, later this year, some of it's going to be what are we asking for, but it doesn't hurt to inform them and get them up to speed on the value so that they know what is coming. So I think even as Dan mentioned, if a lot of us have relationships with, our own state member of the assembly or the state senate. And so as those come up, it's certainly, those are the conversations that make a difference. So as you interact with those people, it certainly doesn't hurt. And you're also going to be more knowledgeable sometimes than they are because of the number of issues they have to be paying attention to. And we're also fortunate that we have people in this room who are elected officials or running for office, and they have an influence as well too, even the local officials. So.
With that, whoops. I'm just wondering if the first contact will be the Chippewa Valley Rally. You've mentioned that several times, Scott, and
Sure.
I'm thinking that'll be the first opportunity that you may be able to talk both with the legislators formally and informally because you have the reception. And that's really a good contact to make at that time.
I will answer that really quickly because it's 11:30. But if you don't know what the Chippewa Valley Rally is, it's an annual event where the Menominee, Chippewa Falls, and Eau Claire chambers spend a day in Madison talking about state issues. It's on February 28th. If you want to know more about it, see me. The issues have been drafted for this year, and there is a thank you in there for the fact that the state submitted or supported the FRA applications because that was in our agenda last year. And so that's coming up. So that the issues are complete. If you're from the area, you know that we just had a healthcare issue come up and we may be adding an issue related to that. We just don't know what it is yet. So anyway, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jackie. Thanks for everybody for coming. It is 11:31. We promised to have you out of here at 11:30. And just the question came up, if you didn't hear it, this is being recorded. And so Mark and Dan will be working to get the recording up on our website in the near future. So you can pay attention to that if you want to go back and listen to something you might have missed today or just want to see it again. So look forward to getting on a train in Eau Claire within a few years. Thanks.